welcome once again to the St. Andrew High School alumni series of interviews. And today we have with us Mrs. Sharon Reid, the current principal of St. Andrew High School for Girls. She's the 7th principal since the school was founded, and she began as a history teacher at St. Andrew High School 30 years ago. So welcome, Mrs. Reid. Lovely to have you. Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your own school life. I gather you went to the great Hampton High School.
Yes, the Hampton School. Well, I'm from Maypen,
okay,
but my parents believed in boarding school. So all of us, I have 3 siblings, we all went to boarding schools. My brothers went to Monroe, my sister went to Ferncourt because my grandaunt, Mrs. Iris Simpson, founded Ferncourt. So she had to go. But then I was fortunate, I was able to, by that time, I'm the last of the 4. And so I wanted to go to Hampton, and my request was granted. So Hampton, I think it was 1969, a long time ago, entered Hampton, and it was a dream come true for me. And the students in my year, well, you know, those days, Hampton, I think, had 300 girls. So everybody knew everybody. I think there probably would have been 200 boarders, if so many, and then the rest day girls. So, you know, in a school like that, your headmistress knows everybody by name and nature. And I think right away she saw me as one of those students that she had to be careful of because I have quite a strong personality. So we had our little tiffs now and then. But I think she rather liked the spirit. So those early days at Hampton were really good. Hampton is a music school. We had a whole range of music rooms called Valhalla. And I had started music from before I went to Hampton. So it wasn't difficult at all. So enjoyed those years. Had some of the best music teachers who probably were the most influential in my early years. There's Donalda Johnston, and then a Jewish teacher, Vicky Matisse, who came out in the latter years, and she was quite a radical, quite a rebel, and but she enjoyed what she did, and she took us into theatre, a lot of musicals. Those days you had school's drama festival, and so from first of all, I was involved in that. Remember one year I was Puck, and that was quite a thing when I had to run and jump up on stage, and oh now spirit, we don't want you know, all of that. So a lot of the creativity, which started, mind you, from primary school, because in those days, my mother was a teacher at the primary school that I went to, Maypen Primary, and so we used to enter festival. We were always in, whether the dance group or the music group, you know, always. I remember one particular teacher, 2 teachers who influenced me. I cannot remember her first name, but Miss Brown, she was a dancer. And then there was the teacher who took me into Louise Bennett's world. My mother's very good friend, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Powell. And so the very year Faith Dagula got a gold medal, I got a bronze. I was competing against Faith Dagula, and I was much younger than she was. It was quite, as in interviewed. Then I probably was about 10 or 11. I was interviewed on TV, JBC, it was a big thing, man. And my father, very proud of me. My father was a soloist, he sang very well, so sang at church and all that, so I would accompany him. And so he was always very proud of me, always watching my career. As a matter of fact, my mother told me that as a child, because I had some cousin, Miss Dora, we call her. Miss Dora lived very close to us. And that's where I started doing music. So all of us as children went to Miss Dora. I don't know what happened, and Miss Dora and I had some little disagreement, and I told them I was not going back. So my music career would have ended there. And my mother tells me that one day my dad came down and said that I was passing Miss Dora, and I heard this little girl playing so well, and how he was so impressed. And I knew it was my cousin who lived next door. And I was so upset, my mother said, that I said, Mommy, I'm going back to the store tomorrow because I can play better than she can. So, you know, but I think my father did that to trick me, to get me to go back. It's in looking back now. So, Hampton, wonderful years. that was weird too. As I think it was when I was in second form, I committed my life to the Lord, and that a profound impact on just the course of my life. My principal, Gloria Wesley Gammon, and many people would know Miss Wesley Gammon. She's a Hampton girl herself. She, I think, impacted all of us, whether we liked what she did or not. Wesley G just had such a strong impact on our life. She was a strong woman, very clear in her principles, clear in the direction she wanted the school to go, and we better fall in, you know. But a wonderful leader, and we were, I think, all of us Hampton girls who were there in Miss Wesley Gammon's era, it was called our Weege. In Weege's era, I think, or much at Hampton was with the utmost courage and courtesy.
Okay.
Yes, summa virtute et humanitate. And I think that has pretty much affected how I have lived my life. But you know, the usual boarding school, the top fees, and of course I would always be involved in those. I remember as a child, in the top fees, you'd hear, you know, you have to have your strategy, because you're not supposed to be having these midnight fees. So when somebody's on the lookout, when we had Miss Brown, we used to call her Bongo Brown. I cannot tell you why, but she was the house mother for the juniors. And when you heard Bongo coming, man, everything had to quick under the bed, wherever. But those were wonderful days. And of course, those girls are still my best friends to this day. That's the thing about secondary school, and more so boarding school. Sometimes I wish all young people get even a taste of boarding life. Those days at Hampton were the days of the finishing school. We learned how to sit at the table. Hampton girls had to, Miss Wesley Gammon would stop us when Hampton was cold. It's in Malvern, in St. Elizabeth. And you had to learn to brace your back and face the wind. You know, Hampton girls don't slouch. You know, and we had to, you know, those days you sat at the table with the mistress, and you learned how to use your knife and fork and all of those finer things of life that somehow help to make you a more civil sort of individual. And sometimes I'm a little sorry that schools now are so large that sometimes some of the girls slip through the cracks. But as you know, we try our best. We do try our best. But those years were fun years. And we went to school with the boys. So, you know, they were the Monroe years. Hampton girls, those days, Hampton has really moved quite a bit now in the sciences. But in my time, when you reached fourth form, if you did like chemistry, you had to go to Monroe. And so then you met the boys. That was a big thing. And so you became a Monroe girl. And then in sixth form too. I think we did both economics and history, because I'm an art student, really. And so we went to Monroe for history, for economics. And Mr. Roper, Richard Roper, a wonderful man of God, and as a principal, certainly one of the most humane. He too affected just our way of thinking. He was ISCF sponsor. Interschools Christian Fellowship played a very, very major role in my latter years as president of ISCF. I became deputy head girl at Hampton, and one of my closest friends was head girl. And those years, we really learned a lot in terms of what student leadership is all about, and the importance of, because Hampton emphasized your total development. And so it was hard for me to fit into St. Andrew, because there are so many similarities to what I was used to.
So about wonderful values and
Certainly.
leadership that you learned at Hampton, you brought with you to St. Andrew.
Oh yes.
And so we're going to take a break now and look at your career once you came to St. Andrew.